All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to IP Talk Brand Insights, a quarterly discussion on the intersection of brand strategy and intellectual property. This series is presented by Virtual Patent Gateway. Our moderator today is Mimi Kaewmanaprasert, VPG Litigation Assistant. Mimi is joined by Melissa Cohen, personal branding and LinkedIn strategist and co-founder of DIY Influence, Julie Michelle Morris, head of CEO content, Persona Media, and co founder of DIY Influence, and Ashley Chung, VPG principal and founder. And with that, I will pass things over to Mimi.
Perfect. Hi, thank you, Kaylin, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Madelyne Kaewmanaprasert. I usually prefer to go by Mimi, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. And I'm currently a senior majoring in communication studies and business and entertainment at the American University in DC. And I'm pleased to introduce our interviewees, Melissa Cohen, Julie Michelle Morris, and Ashley Chung. So starting off with Melissa, I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves, let us know a little bit about you, and maybe share a brief background on your work.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much, Mimi. Ashley, thanks for having me and Julie. So I am Melissa Cohen. As you said, I'm a personal branding and LinkedIn strategist, and in that work, I help founders, business owners, and executives to leverage the magic of LinkedIn by showing up and also standing out. I think both are equally as important. And then I'm also thrilled to run the DIY influence community with Julie, where we really help people to figure out what comes after corporate, right? Maybe they're still in corporate, but they're thinking ahead. Maybe they've left corporate. But for all those people who are planning what comes after their corporate career, I'm thrilled to do that work with Julie.
Okay, I'll grab the mic, literally and metaphorically. So let me just set this up by saying I have worked for myself for 15 years. I love it. I would probably not go back to traditional corporate for any sum of money. I mean, maybe, but I love the freedom that I have because I took a bet on me. And so I kind of created my job also. I've worked in marketing for forever, but I only loved about that much of it. And that piece is working with CEOs, working with founders they're in tech, they're in cybersecurity, but they have to be the face of their brand. And that makes them completely miserable. And so I do it with them for them. Now, if you would have said 4 years ago, is that a job? I don't think people would have said yes. But it was what the market needed. It was what the market was willing to pay for. And I loved it. And so I brought those things together. And that is the joy of the work I do.
That is so nice to hear. Wow. Yes, and then going on to Ashley.
Well, thank you, Mimi. Thank you, I guess, everyone for tuning in. Traditionally, I would say I'm a principal and founder of Virtual Patent Gateway, and I thought that I'm going to change it up a little bit. Well, you already know that's what I do, but I'm a perpetual learner. I'm extremely curious, a problem solver, an author, and also a collaborator to many. And that's really what I find joy in. And I'm trying to be not too verbose, so you will learn more about my journey later, and I will digress.
Anyway, thank you guys for coming on so much. It's so nice to be able to speak to such strong, powerful women who are able to found their own brands and just, lend some amazing advice to the younger generation. So moving on to pivoting, starting with Melissa, would you like to walk us through a pivotal moment in your career, perhaps what sparked it, and how it changed the way you worked or saw yourself?
Yeah, we could do a whole show just about that. So I will also try to make it as succinct as I can. So I spent close to 30 years in the corporate world. And that was what I expected to always do. And I worked in the fashion industry. It was also what I always expected to do. It was what I loved doing. And I was really fortunate. I had an opportunity with what I truly believe was my dream company, which was Ralph Lauren. Everybody knows Ralph Lauren. And I was there for over 11 years. And then 2020 happened. And so I was forced to pivot because I always say I didn't necessarily leave corporate, but corporate left me, right? So I didn't have a job, pandemic, fashion industry. And I was a woman of a certain age, right? And ageism is a real struggle because there's a great propensity in certain industries and in certain sectors and certain opportunities where people just want younger and less expensive, right? And so I really had to pivot. And I never thought that I had an entrepreneurial bone in my body. I mean that sincerely. The idea of starting my own business was nothing I had ever contemplated. And it was actually a conversation from a friend of mine who had been one of my design partners who had left the corporate world earlier than I had. And she was offering me an opportunity to consult with someone. And she said to me, Melissa, you'll see, I never want another corporate job again as long as I live. And I was horrified. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. And I couldn't understand why anyone wouldn't want a full-time job. And I really had to change my mindset around what it meant to be an entrepreneur, to have my own business, to, as Julie said, bet on myself. And much like Julie, I would never go back. So full circle moment from what do you mean you would never want another full-time job again to, oh, yeah, I get it now. I don't ever want another full-time corporate job either.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's definitely external forces that, people may not think about when taking these pivotal moments, and things can change in the blink of an eye. So I really appreciate that, insight. And moving on to Julie. Yep, you're a mom of 2, I believe, and a founder yourself. Would you like to walk us through a pivotal moment in your career, and what sparked it, and how it changed, your mindset and how you work?
So I'll just say this. There are so many. I could walk you through the ones related to, hey, my kid was sick and I was at home with them. The ones where I got the client of my dreams. The ones where I realized, wow, I'm doing what I love. I love this day. I love this work. I love the call I just hung up with. I love, I will still catch myself and almost wonder, how in the world do we get to the point where we settle? We just settle. We accept the status quo, or we wait to be invited to some dream version of our life. So there's a lot. There's a lot of moments. But what I can say is that there are just as many moments where I could really go the other way and go, oh my God, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? I've been our breadwinner for a long time. Who am I to just say that, yeah, this is the right path and this is what I'm going to do and here's where we're going to go and I'm going to believe in me. You have to just know that no matter what, if you get one thing from me this conversation, it's that you can make this work. But if you don't believe and if you don't have that determination that I don't care how many times, to your question, I have to pivot, I'm always thinking about what is the thing that I need to do right now. Because right now is not the same season as it was 6 months from now. It's not the same season as it'll be from 2 years from now when my kids are, headed to college. But here and now, I know what I can do for the market. I know what the market will pay me for. And I'm going to just keep adjusting that direction to know that I am going to I'm going to make this work. And I love it, truly. So there you go.
That's so great. I definitely find that so nice to hear that you're, a mom of 2, and also being able to balance this founder aspect and taking control of, your journey is really great. And yeah, going on to Ashley, would you like to answer the question as well?
Well, I try to be succinct, but who knows what would happen. So there's not one single moment, obviously. And I had been in patent litigation for over 25 years and construction before litigation. So I would say the starting point is I always really thought that I was just going to be a workaholic And so I thought that this is going to be when I retire. But litigation is quite demanding. The field is demanding. You work with very super type A. I am a super type A myself. So I just really never thought that it would be something else different until my dad passed in 2017. And in really quite short time, and it's very unexpected. And I suppressed emotions because grieving is not easy. And so, classic avoidance, 2 more years later, I find myself having really difficult time getting to work. And nobody really knows because I usually don't talk about and share about my feelings except with really good friends. And the struggle, I think, that forced me to realize that I need to take a turn is that my mom lives with me, and I do have to, I do have a reverse parenting role. My mom does not drive. She's very active, 80 years old, but she does not drive. So that becomes, a little bit challenging. How do you balance between litigation when if they have a filing, you have to file. If they want you to go somewhere else, I once had to go to Japan with for 3 weeks to cover depositions with a few days' notice. You know, but what was funny though? I was able to, once I figured out the documents and everything, I asked my mom, I said, would you like to come? Because I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks. I don't know what she's going to do. And she was like, can I? I said, well, let me ask my boss. So I did. And so she was able to basically come because I was going to get the lodging. So anyway, that's really never thought that I would be able to leave because it's a good salary and I have a liberal art degree, and I don't have a technical degree, but I have been in patent litigation for a long time. So I don't think that is I think that's actually a really, really good compliment to my problem solving and curiosity. And I've never really been diagnosed as medically burned out, but I felt that I was actually kind of burned out. I needed something different. So I thought, I need to network and talk to some of my friends. I have a really good network. So I talked to this gentleman, and he was like, I know who you need to talk to. It's another woman founder, and her name is Melissa, and she owns a consulting company herself. And Melissa Cohen, I'll give her a shout out, ILS. And she didn't know me. I called her and I said, this is what I'm going through. I don't know you. Would you spend 15 minutes with me? And she did. And we talk about billable hour. We talk about different things. Were you scared? And till this day, I asked her, it's like, how many people ask you if you have actually founded a firm? How did you find the firm? And she said, too many. I said, how many actually did it? You. So 6 years, I honestly can say that I'm going to have a very niche practice. So I don't think that, it's really hard to bet on yourself when you don't know exactly how this is all going to shape out. So I love the fact that, and I don't know that I came across to be too confident, especially in the beginning. I'm very confident about my work. I was like, oh, this is what you need to do. I'll tell attorneys what they need to do. But that's professional competence and professional confidence. Personal confidence, when you go through an entrepreneurship, where there's every day it comes with a different challenge, that's a whole new ball game. So I'm really glad that I have a good community. The pivot is basically, I failed to manage expectation for a long time. So I just had to figure out a new environment. Maybe I could learn to reframe so that I could remanage my expectation of myself and others. So again, that's my response.
Okay, can I follow that up really quick, Mimi?
Sure.
I think one of the things that taking this huge leap actually allows you to do is have a life and learn how to listen to your body. we often find ourselves knowing that like we don't even have any choice anyway. We have to do this job. We have to do like I get to listen to my body. Some days I just don't have the juice or whatever, right? Like, and I take that day off. Like the agency that this all allows, it allows for grieving, right? Like we have the ability to go and to try to build this kind of life. We three here are not that special. We're great. We're amazing. We're confident. We're all these things, but it's not like there's this magic, there's not. It's just I think what we could probably all commonly look for are some factors that look like we just felt like something more was possible. Anyway, I just really loved highlighting how you highlighted that about like the grief and the physical and like we don't have to do this to ourselves. More is better. Possible.
Yes. Thank you, Julie, for chiming in. Ashley, you've already touched on this with the burnout, the grief, and having to redirect yourself and kind of put yourself in a vulnerable position to be able to, achieve your goals. Either Melissa and Julie, you can answer this as well. What challenges or lessons helped you realize that the pivot was necessary?
I think the experience that I had trying to find a corporate job was one big sign, right? I went through some of the most awful behavior on the part of recruiters and, internal HR teams. I think the one that was just the final one for me was I felt I was a perfect match for something. I really did. On paper, it could not have been more perfect. I had a very good relationship with their internal HR person, literally texting me from the playground, good contact. And the last communication we had was that I was their front-running candidate and she was going to get back in touch with me on Monday with next steps. And then I got completely ghosted. And this was after multiple rounds of interviews with everyone in the organization. And something inside of me just said, I deserve better than this. And I don't want to do this anymore. And I think also, what Julie and Ashley have talked about is really important. I'm a mom too. I'm a wife. I often find that corporate structures can be very unforgiving when it comes to family obligations. And, I navigated a lot of those for many, many years. When I was in corporate, I had to be in Asia every quarter for 2 weeks at a time, 8,000 miles away from home and from my young child. And it was a wonderful experience in many ways. And it was also really hard in many ways. And so I just think realizing that, I think Julie alluded to it, if didn't actually say it, it wasn't serving me anymore. And I wanted to build something where I had flexibility of schedule. I had the ability to go do something with my family. And guess what? I can still work because I can work from anywhere. The work that I do, 95% of it I can do from anywhere. And so it doesn't have to be an either or anymore. It can be a yes and. And I think that's just absolutely priceless.
Yay, Melissa. Okay, I love that. So as of right now, right this second, so I have my $20, I think it's down to like even $17 Amazon microphone that I plug into my laptop that I'm here at Lifetime Fitness. I don't know if anyone knows how great Lifetime is because it's a lobby filled with entrepreneurs who have a jacket on and gym clothes on their tush. And it is so great. There's this hilarious guy, Matt Hymans. He's on LinkedIn now, but he did a lot on Instagram. He has an entrepreneur wife, and he has this hilarious reel where it's his wife, and she's at the doctor's office going, yes, hi, I'm here for my 3:30 appointment with Dr. So-and-so. And like she's got her laptop everywhere and just, yeah. It's the best life. It really is. So I think I wanted to just say how much I appreciate Melissa, like we get to work anywhere, but we get to do the work we want for who we want. I get to follow the market around to where it's going. Like you might see me typing in between conversations here, like in between responses, because I have Claude code going, trying to finish this thing. And it's so fun. I am not a youngin', but I can learn just about anything, and I am. And AI is making it to where some of these gaps that were so difficult a few years ago to, like, you have to wear 10 hats kind of doing a job like this, right? And so
Yes.
now you have AI to help fill so many of these fun little gaps if you just take the time to learn. And you should. You absolutely should. Anybody can, I promise. And so I think just the biggest lesson, I think, for me is just this reminder that you have to just stay, you have your why. Like my why is freedom. You might have noticed, right? I want to work from where I want, with whom I want. I want to follow the world and what's developing and then go work there. Like that freedom is everything. You got to know your why. You got to know your why. And the rest, you do this. You have open hands. I have open hands about the product I do, the work that I do exactly. It has to adapt. If you are really holding tightly to that thing you do, and that's the only thing you're going to do, and you're going to keep trying to put it in the market, like it might not go very well. So just be willing to like keep those hands open about what you do, but not your why.
I love that, both Melissa and Julie. I think that is very important to point out, especially with, people, especially young people now are so, set on the linear career path and knowing exactly what they want to do in their life. And as, two co-founders as well of DIY Influence, you're able to sort of have some control in your everyday life and be able to, not have that burnout or not feel good about what you do. And so, Julie, I would love for you to go ahead and describe DIY Influence and what you both believe to be the purpose of it. If you want to chime in too, Melissa.
Melissa will tell it way better than me. I never want any. So, you know how, like, when Ashley was sharing about her story and the grief, but how she approached someone and said, listen, can I just get 15 minutes with you so I can figure out these pieces? And that right there is everything. You will not be able to do a journey like this alone. And I'm really bad with maintaining friendships. Like, I'm constantly working or with my family. And I didn't want to leave it to chance, basically, to figure out, well, how do I do this whole thought leadership thing? Like, it started just with thought leadership. Like, what do I do on LinkedIn? Really? What do I say? How do I show up? It's a very complicated question. Our kids were born with this in their DNA, and we're still sitting here like, do I talk about work? What do I say? And we make it very complicated. And so we needed to solve that problem first, right? But then right after that, what we really needed to figure out is, why am I doing thought leadership in the first place? It's because there's a change on the horizon. There is a pivot coming, and I need to be ready for that pivot. And that pivot usually looks like the marketplace is changing and I have to be ready. And oh, by the way, I kind of hate my job a little bit anyway. And I want to go maybe try something like working for me. No one should have to figure that out alone. I know stuff that will save people years. And having to go back to corporate because they couldn't get something off the ground. Why wouldn't I share that? I've been helped so much. So that's like the passion behind it that kind of started it. And then Melissa, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Julie. Right? When I first decided to be an entrepreneur, I was consulting in the fashion industry because that's all I knew how to do. And I figured that's all anyone would ever pay me to do. But part of that journey was being visible on LinkedIn for the first time. So if you have never heard my story, I joined LinkedIn in 2008. And the very first time I made a post on LinkedIn was in 2020. Because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to need to find another job. And so for 12 years, I did nothing. But once I decided to show up there, I fell in love with the platform. Truly, fell in love with the platform. And one of its biggest gifts to me was that Julie and I somehow connected. And Julie reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to be on my podcast? And if you want to know how completely clueless I was about anything, I said, I'd love to be on your podcast. I hope it's okay. I just recorded a podcast last week. Is that all right? She was like, yes, girl, you can be on as many podcasts as you want. That's totally fine. And we had a great conversation, right? Much like this. We just really hit it off, connected, stayed in touch. And Julie reached out to me again and said, I did this personal brand boot camp and I'm going to do it again. And I think you'd be really great at teaching it with me. I think we'd have fun. Do you want to do it? And I was literally thinking, what in the world? I don't know how to teach a personal brand boot camp. And I was like, you know what? I like Julie. I love LinkedIn. I've seen what having my own personal brand has done for me so far. Yeah, let's do it. And that's really how all of this started, right? Exactly what Julie said. We don't know what we don't know. And sometimes we don't see in ourselves what others can see in us. And that's really, I think, one of the most special and beautiful things about the community is we are there to support one another. We can see things. When you're super close to something, you can't see it, right? I'm a copy editor of a magazine, and I can find a typo in anything. Just the other day, I put up a LinkedIn post, and I read it 3 times before I realized, oh, there's a big typo in there. We can't see what we're super close to, even when we're good at it.
We lose objectivity.
What, Ashley?
We lose objectivity when it's too close to us.
1,000%.
And then other people can also help us see the possibilities, which is so hard for people who have limiting beliefs and are struggling with self-confidence. This is why we have something like this. Sorry that I sort of butted it.
No, it's perfect, but it's perfect. It's 100% right.
Yeah, and then Melissa, DIY Influence is still relatively young. Back in 2022 when you guys founded it, and you were able to share what you guys, pushed to take that leap into co-founding it together. But what part of building it together has made you most proud so far?
We've gotten some incredible feedback from members. Truly incredible feedback. Some of which we've shared publicly. The impact that we've had, right? We've had people say, I would never have done this without the support and the push and the encouragement of the community. You've made me believe that I could do something that I didn't necessarily believe that I could do. You got me there so much faster, right? I was spinning my wheels for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. And then you guys really propelled me forward with so much momentum that in the next 6 months, I did more than I ever could have imagined. It's really that feedback, right? Because I firmly believe that everything good that's happened to me in my life has, at least in some part, been because somebody else cared enough to help me or to teach me something or to tell me something, not to gatekeep something, but to share it. And that's really what I want to do through the community.
I love that answer. And that sort of kind of leads into our next question, but the feedback from other people, whether it's not what you want to hear or it's the exact thing that you want to hear, it's still something that you might not be able to see for yourself. And it's starting your own brand and founding your own company. It's sort of surrounded by yourself, but you don't also think about the other people around you that can help you see what or they help you see what you may not, just on your own. And so with rejection, Ashley, what tools or mindset shifts have helped you turn rejection into information instead of some form of discouragement?
How do you know I have to deal with rejections all the time? If I tell you in the old days, like my boss, one of the attorney that I work with is like, why are you taking everything so personal? I mean, it's because I'm a person. You are attacking me. That's why I'm taking it personal. Anyway, there's I can kind of, I think with age, like I'm a much older now, I can actually kind of see that I don't need other people's opinion to define me. But when I was younger, and also culturally too, I'm Asian American, I'm Chinese American, like a lot of it, I have a people management system. Like other people define who I am, who I was. So that was really difficult for me to handle rejections. I took everything so personal. 6 years ago, I came out to do virtual patent gateway, and I really, honestly, I think because I have more control. There's a lot of external control that I don't have, but I have more control like over my time, like what Julie said, she's that lifetime fitness. I just took my mom to get a pedicure and I was like, just have to be back by 11:30, go on to at 12 o'clock. And then after all of this, I'm 95% packed and I just need 10 minutes to wrap it up, get an Uber, go to the airport. That is not something that I used to have. I would do that for other people. And this time and there's a place, and I think that my jobs previously have actually taught me a lot about resilience. But what it didn't teach me, because we are based on an evaluation system. So you have to be live, you have to get everybody approval so you could get that outstanding. So I look at rejections very differently, much more personal. But because like if I get rejected now, it's probably not getting a case, not getting like maybe people will tell you that hey, actually you kind of suck. Not to my face, but it's okay. I learn now. I think mindset is huge. The shifting of that is whatever other people give you as a feedback. I just look at it as data. Once I sort of like put it as, oh, metrics, oh, this is like, if people, like, for example, I would approach people for podcasts. Would you like to be on my podcast? I have people writing me now to be on my podcast. But at the same time, I also get rejections from people. So it really depends on the source of the people who actually give you rejections. Sometimes they just ghost at you, not say anything. That's okay, they're busy. I don't take that personal. And if they come back and said it nicely, and I've actually had a couple of people say that you should teach a master class on rejections. Because usually people come back and say that, oh, I wanted to say yes, but I don't have time. And I think that I said, that's okay. Protect your boundaries. Don't if this is not the right fit, don't worry about it. There will be time. The key thing about rejections, besides being better, it teaches you how to reformulate your questions. So you just need to ask a different question. Maybe you'll get a yes, or maybe that's just not your right audience. And your messaging is going to be, I think, when you don't take things personal. There's a book called The Four Agreements, and it's by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one of the four principles in that book is like, be impeccable with your words. So be careful what you said, words matter. Don't take anything personally. Well, I used to. So I think I'm done with that. And every once in a while, that's good. Don't make assumptions. You know what assume does, as in my book, is that ASSUME, you figure it out. It makes them, and always do your best. And I feel like the person who actually taught me or told me about this book, her name is Madelyne. She's in Johannesburg, South Africa. She used to be a cruise director, like for entertainment, for Norwegian, I think. And she just had a newborn baby. How do I get to know her? On Airbnb experience. And like, I would not have that time before. And that's how, like, I think I just really enjoy talking to people. And people said that you really get people to talk. And I also talk a lot too. So, so on that note, rejection, I think from taking it, the mindset we shift is that really take yourself out of the equation. Is that something that you have to learn there? Maybe you didn't communicate well. As founders, like you are in the leadership role, you all eyes on you. There's nothing that you can really do that is really right. But did you do your best? If you did, then that's okay. Lessons learned, go move on. Okay, I digress and let other people talk now.
Well, could I add on something to that real quick? I want to go back to that point. I think that one of the biggest takeaways here for the types of people that you're around. We started DIY Influence because we wanted people to always have people around them, right? There is something extremely crucial, valuable, important. You will become the people that you hang out with. You will. You absolutely will. It's kind of like if you ever see a mom walking down the street with her daughter or her kid or something like that, even your dog, okay? You look like each other. You will learn the same lessons as, you will absorb all these tactics with. Get into a community where people are learning the stuff you want to learn and you want to become them. If you are surrounded by, and all your friends that are close to you that are speaking into your life right now are not where you want to be, you will not get to where you want to be. It's very, very, very hard to go against that much of a current because you need that affirmation and that second set of eyes, that objectivity. So you're not stuck in your head overthinking something and worried about something. Like, you have models to look to. So anyway, that's just the whole point of any community, is that you're going to go and hang out with them and learn and become a little sponge and move faster and whatever that thing is. It's like a gym. I would probably become more fit and cuter, stay younger.
You're already cute.
Rather than Starbucks, right?
Thank you for chiming in.
But can I add one more thing on that?
Yes, go
I
ahead.
think your neighborhood, sometimes as you grow, especially as a founder, you will sort of have to reevaluate your community and your neighborhood, and to pivot to the next level. That might require you to let go of something, like maybe old relationship that doesn't drain your energy, and then so that you could actually have the energy to face your next challenges. Because we all have finite. Energy is not infinite.
You have to get rid of the energy vampires.
Yes, exactly.
I love that.
Okay, and to that point, if anyone knows my husband, David, you will know that he is the best guy on the planet. I truly think so. He
You
told
might
me
be a
not
little
to
bit
start.
biased, but okay.
Oh, I know, right? So he actually told me not to start DIY Influence. He didn't think it was the right time. He was absolutely right. There was not a perfect time for that. There was not going to ever be time for, it's like anything you want in life. Is it ever time to have a family or to start working out or whatever? He was right. But if I had listened to the people that were closest to me, like, you got to let go of everybody's opinion, especially the ones you live with. Now he's there, but like, he's just built differently. I am okay with risk. On the other side of risk, on the other side of that 51%, like, I'm pretty sure, 51% sure that this is going to work. I was that sure. But all the yeses that I say, all the very careful yeses I say, they have meant a lot, but not all the no's that everybody in my close world, they had to see it before they could understand it. That's perfectly okay. So watch your yeses and no's and people.
Yeah,
Awesome.
there's
Thank you for
always
the ad.
so much value in the yeses, but the no's, Also, people can always doubt on anything that you want to do, but if you're, trying to find that perfect moment and not actually doing it, it's never going to happen. So I really appreciate that comment, really.
And then also, when people reject you, it's not really because of you. It's because of what they have in the burdens that they have,
Right.
their own fears and their own limiting beliefs. And a lot of it is like if you actually sit there and listen to everybody, which I used to, and it's so tiring. So I just decided, I'm just gonna let that go.
Melissa, I'll ask
Okay.
you this
Yes.
question.
Okay. Last thing. I promise.
No, go ahead, go for
Rejection
it.
is so important. If you didn't hear Ashley say it a couple times, if you didn't hear Melissa's story about it, like it can be directional, right? Like if you don't hear the market saying, no, that's not the product for me, okay, it's a signal. Listen to it. But if you hear rejection from like, no, it's just not for me, you do the thinking. Get curious. Like there's probably not a single client that I have or a single cool opportunity that I've had that has come to me just fallen out of the sky. I've had to go after it and I've had to talk with people and I've had to share the vision and get them excited. But I only work for good people too. And I'm really happily selective around that. And so I think like listen to that rejection. Don't ever get discouraged. It's just you finding your way. That's all it is.
Thank you for timing it. That was amazing comment. I love it. Yeah, back to Melissa. And Julie, you could also answer this, but what advice would you give to the younger generation on how to handle rejection? And I guess be able to, young people are so moldable and impressionable. Um, I mean, I'm young and I'm still learning, but yeah, what advice would be best to those handling rejection?
My true feeling is if you never get rejected, you're not trying hard enough. You're playing too safe, right? If you never hear a no, you're not stretching yourself to reach your full potential. If everything is a yes and everything is easy, you have to try harder. You have to think bigger. You have to dream bigger. Being rejected is okay, right? There's cliches are cliches for a reason. And so rejection is redirection. Yeah, it really is. It really is, because it will either point you to the right project, the right partner, the right opportunity, or the right time, right? Sometimes a no isn't a no, it's just a not right now. And so I would tell anyone, young or old, but especially young, don't be afraid of rejection. It's actually okay. It's a sign that you're doing something right.
Okay, one last thing. On the question, I think we hear probably most often in DIY influence. It's like, should I say this? Should I write this? Should I put this out there in the world? Because the fear of rejection, really, it is paralyzing. Like we can't discount the fact that it is so vicious. It really is. And I think that reality of like, as things have changed, especially with AI, anybody can be prolific now, whether or not their ideas are good. And it is much harder to stand out now. And so not only did we have to grapple with that like innate biological response to, oh my gosh, I'm putting something out there and there could be ramifications. So that's still there in our biology. But now we have to work even harder to stand out and to differentiate. And once you get into that motion and that habit and that pattern of just continually knowing what you want to say about something and knowing what you believe about something, the rest of it does get easier. If you don't know you, and it's very often that you don't, because if you've been in corporate for this long, you've had to shove yourself into a box that's like this big. And the rest of you is not even showing up on the radar. You don't even know them anymore. Or them now, like maybe you did a few years ago, but like, who are you now? What do you think? What do you believe? But if you don't know what you think and you believe, it is going to be very difficult to put it out there into the world because of the uncertainty. So figure that part out. If there was like one thing that I know that has made the difference between people saying, yes, I want to work with you. I come back to revenue a lot. You can tell because it's so important, right? They come to me and they already know they want to say yes because of what I say. I'm like interviewing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with my big opinions, with just me being me. It is that important that you get confident in your own skin, figure out what you believe. What do you believe about AI and its effect in your industry right now? You're not going to make everybody happy. You're just not. You don't need everybody to be happy. You need this group of people like right here maybe to be happy, and these ones are not important, and these ones who will never like you anyway are not important. Just focus on the middle of that U curve. Those are your champions. Those are the people that are going to help you. And those are the people that you need to show up with a strong opinion on, with all of your industry and knowledge and everything you've ever done. So
Thank you. I think that is very important to, talk about. And in the next topic of thought leadership and founding, Melissa or Julie, what core values do you believe thought leadership may convey?
All right, I just have to say one thing because Julie touched on what I almost consider as my thesis statement these days. And so I think one of the most important aspects of thought leadership, and then I'll turn it over to Julie because she's the queen of thought leadership, but it has to be authentic. And I know authentic is one of those buzzwords and everybody rolls their eyes at it, but so I did a post on LinkedIn a few days ago and I was expecting a little more backlash than I got. And the fact that I didn't get that much actually tells me that I'm onto something. As Julie said, AI makes it easier than ever to put content out there. It also makes it easier for everybody to put content out there and for everybody to sound the same. Because AI just vanillaizes everything. It whitewashes it, it makes it bland, it makes it flowery. Unoriginal. Everybody starts to look and sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the point of that? And I know that I'm not the only one who feels this way because, I have conversations with people privately, quietly, and they say things like, yeah, I was really disappointed to see that post today from XYZ. I could tell that was just a ChatGPT post. And so I'm not anti-AI. I mean, I do have this sort of dystopian fear that one day we're going to end up working for the bots instead of the other way around. But I'm not anti-AI. But it can't replace you. It has to be a tool. It has to be something, an augmentation, a benefit, not a replacement for your thoughts, your lived experiences, your point of view, because that's what people want. That's what people are going to hire you for. That's what people are going to find you interesting for, right? Because it's your original ideas. It's what makes you uniquely you, right? Ashley has had a lived experience that is vastly different from mine. My lived experience has been vastly different from Julie's. Why would we all want to sound the same?
there's so much we could talk about with AI, you guys, but I'll just say this. We see what feels like the same post all down our feed. It's the same post. And it's not even, like, most of the time probably intentional plagiarism. It is that AI has stuff that it says, and it's not going to sound any different. And you will not be ready for stuff like this. So one of the other things I loved about DIY is that I got to learn how to teach and work through all my fears of public speaking. Like, I used to not be able to get a word out, 3 words out, if there were more than 2 people there, even sometimes 2 people. I would freaking panic. Like, I could not get the shaking and the. So I love that we get to help each other develop stuff like that. Just bottom line, it has been so very valuable for that. But I also need to do the workout of figuring out what I think about stuff. And if you outsource that piece of the thinking and then the articulation on your own, it will atrophy. And if it does, you will not be ready for that interview, will not be ready for the panel and the keynote and all the things that you want. You really won't. I almost will tell people now, do not use AI. Use it as a repository. Use it to find that thing you said that one time. Use it to do the research in the middle. Don't use it at the beginning where you are trying to figure out what to say. You wrestle with that. And then don't use it at the end where it's trying to write for you. Ask it to help you figure through those different pieces of, like, okay, am I thinking about the intersectional pieces here? What am I missing? What's being said in the field right now? Do that. But you've got to get good and confident with speaking. You have to in this day and age. Bottom line.
Sorry. Yeah, I think both your points are really great to hear, especially with AI. Everyone is using it these days, and originality is sort of a lost trait, and a lot of the younger generation, at least, like even um, just people aren't using their own. They're using it as a way to replace and not as a tool, like you said. It should be more of a strategic use rather than an entire replacement of your thinking and what you're conveying to people. So I think that's really important part to touch on. And then lastly, Ashley, best for last. How has your creating your own podcast and writing books changed how you see your role as a founder? Looking into thought leadership.
So for thought leadership, thank you, Melissa and Julie. Great points. So for thought leadership, I think that I like to look at it in a sort of a bifurcated view. For personal, sort of like more personally, I agree with the authenticity, but I think professionally, consistency is what really will let people uh, lead people to trust you as a person, trust you as a brand. I am in the IP space, so never in my wildest dream would I actually think that I would be on actually be on three podcasts or own started three podcasts. I have fear of public speaking, and but you have to have a great team because you cannot do it all alone. So I'm very fortunate to have a great team. And sometimes, even with your team who tells you, I mean, they will give you feedback. And because I hate to say the buck stop with you, but you do own the legal as well as the business responsibility. So sometimes you might end up not pleasing people, even the people that you respect on your team. You have to make a business decision. So those are the things that is really important in terms of thought leadership. I just got to be myself. If I don't feel right about something, I have learned to trust myself a lot more than I used to. How does podcast help me? Well, it actually made me become less self-conscious. In the old days, I was like, oh, how does my hair look? Do I have like, I was eating donuts earlier. Do I have like, the sugar coating on my thing? I was showing, and Caitlin was like, as long as we're not doing online. But like, those are the things that I would be focusing on. Like, do my hair look good? How many gray hair does the suit get? Like, those are things that I would use to focus on, as a person. I would never call myself a podcaster because I have very high standard, and the people that I look up to are the people like really really amazing in terms of like how they present so eloquently. And I just kind of accepted the fact that I'm real. So people are just gonna have to accept English is my second language. You could take it or leave it. If I don't pronounce it correctly, I will try to do it one more time. We got 5 minutes remaining. Thank you, Caitlin. I would wrap this up. So I think that it allows me to expand my network, my community. And I once had people say that, but you don't have a community. Not yet. And then people like, I get invited to go to conferences, and people will say, but you're not that great at speaking. Not yet. So at the not yet, I think that's really important. And then sometimes if people are doing that, like to you, it might be that it's a mirror that they feel uncomfortable looking at. It's not really to put, it's like I live my own life. I have to be, at the end of the day, if I go to, like, if I'm at my funeral, like just watching, I like to know that I have done my best and I've actually grown. And I think that I've actually grown quite a bit. And I don't know that, And also, who am I supposed to be answering to? Maybe my mother still. But like for the most part, I just want to have some fun. And the podcast actually allowed me to do that when I get online and talk to some of my guests, and they were so amazing. And then it was like, oh, I follow you. I'm like, okay. Went to conferences. People's like, I follow you on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay. Total imposter syndrome. Like, who am I for you to follow? But honestly, I think it's about the connection. So on that, I think that it really boosted my confidence. And to wrap that up to say, for my part, is that Sasha Strauss, who's one of my really good friend, he's a brand strategist, professor, and keynote speaker. And when I first started going to a class, and he actually used 1 minute to basically said to me in front of the class, and whatever I said earlier, then it was not very confident sounding. So he was like, I like what you said, but I am going to correct your language because we cannot believe in you unless we hear you believe in yourself. So on that, I am going to turn that back to you, Mimi. Thank you so much
Perfect.
for an amazing job.
Thank you
And
for
thank you,
ending.
Melissa and Julie, too.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, all of you guys, for joining us today and giving some insight on your own personal experiences with pivoting in your career. And I have 3 points I'd like to reiterate from you guys. Pivoting your business to be able to meet your goals, putting yourself out there, whether it's comfortable to you or not, authenticity, that also goes hand in hand with personal confidence, like the way that you present yourself to others kind of manifests in the way that you see yourself. So speaking on Sasha Strauss's quote, speaking about yourself to others, you have to make them believe that you actually believe in yourself. And then also, following your passion, believing deeply in what you do and letting that lead you rather than external forces that are putting pressure on you that may be something that you don't want to do or may not find aligns with what you're doing at that time. And also being able to find people who will support you, given rejection or not. Sometimes the feedback is, always helpful to be able to see it through other people's lens, but mostly trusting yourself and trusting your gut and what you want to do and sticking with that. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for all the advice that you've given and the amazing points that you've
No one does
spoken.
success alone. It's been
Yes.
amazing to be here with you guys today. Ashley, thank you being so generous to
Thank
put this
you.
together. So grateful.
Yes.
Thank you guys so
And
much.
yes, I got 1 minute, and let me go ahead and give Mimi and the LA crew a shout out.
Yeah.
So her friends, I guess it started with Kiana Solomon. She's at 3L at UCLA now. She's also working at a law firm. And then Nicole Cohen, Camelia Jelani, and those girls, they just said, oh, I have another person to send it to you. I have another person to send it to you. And then Camelia told me about Mimi. I was like, oh, I don't know that I really need anybody. But I was like, okay, let me talk. And she has really done an amazing job. And let's give her a round of applause for
Thank
doing
you
so
guys.
well. And this is her first debut. So thank
Yes.
you,
Great job,
everyone.
Mimi. You
Thank
did
you
wonderful.
guys so much. I'm so appreciative that you guys are my first guests. I couldn't have, wanted any other women to be joining me today.